I have been so blessed and overwhelmed by all your support for this podcast. Seriously, it means the world to me. The show wouldn't be what it is without your help. And if you'd like to find out how you can help support this podcast further, just shoot me a mail at kazhilajosh@icloud.com. That's KAZHILAJOSH@icloud.com. Or simply comment help on whatever platform you're listening on, and I'll get back to you. Your support helps me keep creating these episodes and helps the show grow even more. Hey, welcome to the 42 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Kazhila. This is a space built primarily for athletes where their stories are told and shared with the world. The name 42 means for the athlete to the world, and that's exactly our mission. Along the way, we'll also dive into everything happening in our wonderful world of sports. So whether you're an athlete, a fan, or just love a good story, you are in the right place. Welcome back to the 42 Sports Podcast. My name is Joshua Kazhila. It's so good to be with you in this new week. It's actually my birthday tomorrow, so if you do get the chance to see me in person, or maybe you have my social media, you can follow me on Instagram at J_Kaz12, and you can wish me a happy birthday. I'm turning 23, and 23 feels like a awkward age for me. I don't know, because I heard one of my friends who's the same age, or he was born in the same year as me. He said he was born, next year he's turning 24, and I was like, this guy's old. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm getting old too. But nevertheless, it's a blessing to be able to see another year through, and all praise to God for that. Today we are chatting about how a win can change everything. And so this is going to be directly from, or this concept or this theme drew inspiration from Manchester United. Okay, I'm a Manchester United fan. I know I've mentioned it several times on this podcast, but in recent weeks, we haven't actually lost a game. I think for the whole month of October, Ruben Amorim went undefeated, and then against Spurs over the weekend, he drew 2-2. We should have actually won that game, but unfortunately we didn't. But anyways, because of our recent form, specifically in the month of October, now United fans are starting to get a little bit greedy. It's the exact opposite of, like, you know that saying, beggars can't be choosers. Well, if you're not begging, you have the opportunity or the option to choose. You have options. And so that's what you're seeing with the current Manchester United team, where now we're dropping points to Tottenham. And that's been a tough fixture for us. I think over the last few seasons, the last time we beat Tottenham was when Cristiano Ronaldo was actually at United, and that was several seasons ago. Actually, that was Ten Hag era. So Tottenham, that's not a game that we in recent times have actually won. It's not saying that we shouldn't beat them, but recently we just haven't been able to, defeat them. But anyways, what you're seeing now is United fans are expecting wins. If you go back to September, when Amorim was struggling against Brentford, and he lost 2-1 to Brentford. At that time, Brentford, kind of I don't want to say a nothing team, because that's disrespectful to Brentford, but they were a team that didn't really possess any major threats, or any, like, they have a new manager, lost a lot of their star players, so we lost to them, and Amorim looked like he was facing the music. It looked like he was pretty much on borrowed time. And at that time, I think he actually was closer. But now, after Jim Ratcliffe and the whole ownership and management have come out in support, it seems like the United team have turned a corner. And as a result of that, our fixtures have been really positive, or the results have been really positive. Winning 3 games in a row, and then drawing our last 2. Defeating Liverpool at Anfield, that was massive. That was big. And then after that, defeating Brighton at Old Trafford. What you're seeing now is the fans being hungry for more. We're not satisfied with a draw anymore. We want to win. We want to win every single game. There's no excuses anymore. But if you go back to September, we would have been begging for points from any team, from anywhere, from any position. And now we are on the other side of it, where the team is starting to look a little bit more cohesive and structured and strong. But, there's still a lot of work to be done with this team. I think Amorim is still fully figuring out how he wants to approach the game. But that's not my main point today. That's just the example that I'm using to speak about this topic of how a win can change everything. It's kind of this law of momentum. I actually learned this from a John Maxwell course, leadership course. He calls it like the law of Big Mo. But momentum just makes everything easier. Momentum means, your performances come naturally. You don't have to work extra hard to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. So let's say you've been in the gym consistently and you're starting to notice a bit of momentum. And when that momentum gets created, you just fit into it like a glove, essentially. You fit into whatever drills you're doing, whatever exercises you're doing at the gym. You just fit into it. But remember when you started going to the gym? Some of you need to start going back to the gym. I'm one of them. I need to be a lot more consistent when it comes to my exercise. But remember when you started going to the gym, or if there was a time where you started training for a particular sport, at first it was difficult. It was terrible. There were moments where you were in it and then you were out of it, then you were in it and then you were out of it for like a month or two, and you came back, your legs were itching and burning and all of that. But now that you've been in a consistent routine for a while, there's been a lot of momentum that you have created. And as a result of that, now you don't struggle anymore when you're in the gym. You don't struggle as much when you are training. Like, you're still pushing yourself 100% definitely, and there's going to be struggle always. But because momentum is on your side, because you form that good habit, you don't have those initial struggles that you had at first. So going back to the United example, where this season, at the beginning of the season specifically, the first couple of months, momentum wasn't really present. We'd win one game, then we'd draw the next, and then we'd lose, and then the cycle would repeat. And it was very just disruptive momentum, if I can say that. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Before we dive back into the episode, I'd love it if you could take a quick moment to support this podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leaving a review or a rating goes a long way. And if you're watching on YouTube, a like, a comment, or even subscribing would mean the world to me. All right, that's enough from my side. Let's get back into the show. And that's what's made these last few games or few results very interesting from a United point of view, is because we're winning, or we won 3 in a row. A lot of momentum's created there, and we've drawn 2. And so now Man United fans are hungry again. They can begin to dream because momentum is slightly on our side. It's to be seen whether we will continue, because this is still a very young Amorim side. But in your own personal life, in your personal career, as you train and as you develop discipline in whatever it is that you are called to do, you'll find yourself struggling initially, but once you get into it, once you get into that craft, once you get into a bit of a routine and momentum starts being created, then things just feel easier. And that's where the whole theme of today's podcast comes from. A win can change everything. So when you start winning, you notice that things just become a lot simpler, a lot easier, and you're not stressing as much. But sometimes it takes a while to get to that place where you can feel like you're consistently winning. If we look at athletic careers, there's a lot of variety when it comes to how different careers play out. I remember Jamie Vardy, he's not in the Premier League anymore, but when Leicester won the Premier League, I mean, he was kind of the talk of the league, because he was just lighting the Prem up essentially. And I think he has the record for the most consecutive goals scored in the Premier League, if I'm not mistaken. But he, I think, came back into professional football around about like 24. So he was very old, relatively speaking, in football terms. I'm turning 24 next year, which is crazy. But Jamie Vardy came in, I think at 24. I stand to be corrected. He came in, and then he was working his way back into the professional setup. And then eventually, a few years later, he won the Premier League with Leicester. Now, most careers, they start differently, where at 18 or 19, you're starting to break through into a senior side. And then you win the league within the next few years. Jamie Vardy started a lot later. But that small win that he experienced, and I'm not talking about the Premier League win, which was massive in his life and in his career. I'm talking about getting back into the system at 24. Like, even that's very unlikely, but he got that small win, and that small win changed the trajectory of his life. And it's the same thing with you today. Maybe this year you didn't perform at your highest level, and you still think there's another gear to reach. All athletes think the same way. There's always more to be achieved. There's always more. There's more output to display. And, that's just the nature of competition and innovation and all of that. You want to keep growing. You don't settle. But I want to encourage you, especially as we approach the end of the year, just know that you, as long as you keep doing what you're doing, working hard, showing up, and, leaving honestly the rest up to God, because there's certain things you just cannot control. If it rains tomorrow, if it doesn't rain, you can't control that. But you can control your food, your nutrition, how you exercise, how you recover, how you sleep. All of these things are in your control. And especially if this year has been a year where you felt like there's been a lot of losses and a lot of defeat and negativity, I would encourage you to stay consistent, almost create your own momentum. It's going to be tough because it's a lot easier to create momentum in a winning environment than it is in a losing environment. That's kind of also, and Liverpool fans aren't going to like this, but that's why Slot was able to come into that Liverpool side, taking over from Jurgen Klopp, and he was able to win the league. Whereas you see somebody like Amorim, who struggled, he finished, 15th last season, because the team just didn't have much momentum. So creating momentum takes work, it takes patience, it takes consistency, but as soon as you get that one win, like we have seen with Ruben Amorim and his Manchester United side, things change. The mentality around you changes and within you changes. As soon as you get that one win, watch how it feels as if everything else falls into place. So I would encourage you, no matter where you're at right now, maybe you felt like this year has been one of your best years yet. Maybe it's been a difficult year. I would encourage you to maintain your consistency, keep doing what you are doing, and eventually that win will come. And you'll have the chance to feel as if you don't have to keep on struggling. That's all from my side, and I'm hoping that this episode did encourage you this week, especially if you're feeling like you haven't had many wins of the last few weeks. I'm just encouraging you to stay consistent and, like I said, leave the rest up to God, because there's certain things you cannot control. But just do your part. Showing up is already more than half the battle, I believe. And I believe that you will also encounter a win soon. I can't say when. That's the nature of sport. That's the nature of life. You can't guarantee certain things, but you can increase your chances of experiencing that win if you follow all the right steps, eating well, preparing well, recovering well, all those different things, showing up. And before you know it, you'll have that win, and that win will change how you go about your career, how you go about your ambitions, how you go about your dreams and your day-to-day conduct. But that's all from my side, and this is the 42 Sports Podcast. If you haven't listened to the Meet the Athlete episode from last week Friday, I suggest you do. That was with Stefan Pater, a very talented number 9 from Harlequins Rugby. That was our first rugby interview as well. And speaking of rugby, shout out to the Springboks for beating France. I think it was, I'm trying to remember the score off the top of my head. I think it was 32-17, if I'm not mistaken. Shout out to them, and shout out to Siad Khemisi for his 100th appearance. This is the 42 Sports Podcast, for the athlete to the world.